Okay, welcome everyone to a Clear Mountain Saturday gathering. Um, to begin, I think some of you know Gage Academy, which shares this space with us, or did, is having a garage sale. So people are parking on the far side of the lot today. But next week should be standard, park wherever you want. Gary, do we have any announcements about St. Mark's?
Yes, St. Mark's donates the use of this space every week to us. And in gratitude for that, we have put out a Dhamma box over near the free books for anybody who would like to make a contribution to them.
And a few other notes. I think Jessica and Bonnie may have something that requires a mic to say. Well, basically, there's some roles for Ajahn Jayasaro which need to be filled. And so talk to Jessica. Matt, would you give the mic to Jessica? Sorry. Thank you.
So this is for Saturday, May 4th, and we're looking for a few people to do transportation, meaning transporting our stuff from here to West Seattle. The way that it would work would be the Saturday before, putting some of our stuff in your car, and then Saturday, May 4th, bringing it to Fauntleroy Church in West Seattle, and then bringing it back here. So if you're available to do that, let me know. And then we're also looking for a few more people to do setup and take down. So you can talk to me afterwards. Thanks.
Talk to Jessica. Yeah, Ajahn Jayasaro is, oh, and Bonnie has something too. Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Jessica. So Ajahn Jayasaro is visiting early May, and he's just a really special teacher. We're really lucky to have him. And so if people are willing to kind of help transport stuff a bit, that would be great. And distributing the flyers really is helpful. A lot of people find out about us through those flyers, and just giving, taking it as a practice of metta to distribute these kind of doorways to Dhamma is worth a lot. So please do take advantage of that. Additionally, Ajahn Kovilo and Stefa and Sai and some others put together these awesome Dharma stickers. So depending on which quality you want to bring to mind, we have anicca, dukkha, anatta, a skull. It's very Theravada. And Kanti, which means patient endurance. It's all these great terms regarding the Buddhist path, a little heart with metta in it. So they're just stickers you can put anywhere you want, which is kind of awesome, on your computer, on your car, on your partner's shirt, whatever works. So yeah, I just want to first, really give a big anumodana to Stefa and others for doing that. And we have a big box of them near the book table, so feel free to take stickers. And we also have some up here, which I can hand out as well, but they're kind of awesome. So just mentioning that. We also have so much Tupperware, which has been left. So please check to see if you left Tupperware here, and please help take it back. Thank you. Finally, I think today, seeing it's the first Saturday of the month, we'll take precepts or give the precepts and refuges. So just for context, these are, the Buddha classified these as mahadana, or great gifts, in that when you take these precepts of ethical conduct, you're giving a gift of fearlessness to the beings around you, to countless beings, he said. So for those who want, there's no pressure, but you're welcome to take these precepts together. And they're just really beautiful ethical guidelines to brighten the heart and deepen practice as well. So if you're joining us on Zoom, you can find the link to the chanting book there in the chat. YouTube, it's on the description. And for those in person, you can find the chant on page 128 for the refuges and precepts. And Juanita will begin by requesting them. 128.
มายังพันเตติสรเนนะสหปัญจศีลานิยาจามะทุติยมปีมายังพันเตติสรเนนะสหปัญจศีลานิยาจามะตาติยมปีมายังพันเตติสรเนนะสหปัญจศีลานิยาจามะ
Repeat after me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
Buddhang saranam gacchami.
พุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
ธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Sanghang saranam gacchami.
สังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranam gacchami.
ตุติยมปีพุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranam gacchami.
ตุติยมปีธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranam gacchami.
ตุติยมปีสังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Tatiyampi Buddhang saranam gacchami.
ตาติยมปีพุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Tatiyampi Dhammang saranam gacchami.
ตาติยมปีธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Tatiyampi Sanghang saranam gacchami.
ตาติยมปีสังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
Tisarana kamanang nititang. And you say
อา
ama
มะพันเต
pante. Pangati pata veramani sekaparang samadhiyami.
ปานาติปาตาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adinadana veramani sekaparang samadhiyami.
อาทินาทานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Kame sumichachara veramani sekaparang samadhiyami.
กาเมสุมิสาจาราเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
Musawada veramani sekaparang samadhiyami.
มุสาวาทาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Surameraya majapamadhatana veramani sekaparang samadhiyami.
สุรายาเมรยมัชปมาทฐานา เวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drinks and drugs which is lead to carelessness.
And I just say this. Imani pancha sikha parani si lena sugatingyanti si lena boga sampara si lena nibutingyanti tasamasi langwi soda ye. These are the 5 precepts. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified. You say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And Amotana, those are such beautiful ground to put a life on. So I just really appreciate hearing people take them. And we usually just encourage people in the community also to consider putting one day in their week as a basically Buddhist Sabbath day, or what we call an Uposatha day, an observance day, where just one day a week you take more time for practice. You can determine to hold the 8 precepts during that day and not eat afternoon, sleep on the ground, just a little bit of an ascetic edge. But at the very least, kind of just making space in a day, one day a week for a little more practice, putting aside a little more time and reorienting yourself towards the Dhamma and towards kind of this North Star in our lives. We also on our Discord online have a community of Upasikas who are all holding the 5 precepts in a daily meditation practice of 20 minutes a day. So people are welcome to join that and kind of have a bit of support in this practice of holding the 5 precepts. And on that online community, we also have a confession formula where once every week or once every 2 weeks, you sort of get together with a partner or call them and just, as the monastics do, look at your behavior and just kind of rejoice in the things you did beautifully and take note of the things you think you could improve on a little bit. And it's a really beautiful way of taking stock and refining a life. So just want to encourage people to take advantage of these ancient forms which the Buddha set down for us. Okay, so today we are going to be doing a community story session. So basically these are something we do every 6 weeks or 2 months or so, where I vacate the cushion and we give the community a chance to come up. And the core question is, how did you come to Dhamma? Tell us that story. Or how has the Dhamma changed your life this past year? And it's just a really powerful opportunity for this community to share its wisdom, to share its vulnerabilities, and it kind of creates a sacred space and helps create a much more tight-knit group. And so if you feel at all inclined to come up here, just after the meditation, know that there's space for you to come up and speak for maybe, try to note that there's a lot of people here. So, it's good if you can keep it under 5 minutes or so. If you're on Zoom, you can also speak. And if you're nervous about it or don't know about coming up and sharing, kind of often the Dhamma's impacted us in ways that are very deep and expose vulnerabilities, but just consider it a gift to the community to kind of speak to these things, because honestly, often it really lets others resonate. And if you do see someone come up here, just make sure to kind of afterwards perhaps express some gratitude for them having the guts to share, because it does take a bit of courage. So I'll let people proliferate on that over meditation together. But we'll open that up after the sit. But for now, we'll meditate. So begin by just establishing an upright posture. Drawing in the lower spine as a spring and letting the whole spine balance on the ground a bit like you would balance a mop or a broom on the palm of your hand, holding it upright. And you can rock forward and backwards a little bit until you rock to the center point. And then you can do the same side to side just until you find an appropriate center. Allow awareness to move up the spine and to the top of the head. Notice any tension in the eyes and the jaw and soften it. Soften any tension in the belly. And just allow breathing to slow and deepen. Now just lean into the present moment a little bit. Instead of twisting away into a fantasy or a memory, lean into the present and watch how it brightens the mind and attention. And then just encouraging people, if they feel inclined, to just center on a very simple meditation, pairing the breath with loving kindness. So you can let the breath become prominent in your attention wherever you feel it. You can even imagine the whole body breathing. But in the background, keep a gentle sense of friendliness, kindness, a bit of humor. A sense of lightness in the meditation. And then if that becomes a bit dry, foreground the loving kindness and background the breath. And really kindle that warmth of benevolence, of friendliness in the heart. You can bring to mind the image of someone who cares for you, gazing at you with care and love, wishing you well. You can bring to mind the image of someone you love, a pet, a friend, a child. The image of you giving a gift in the past to that person. Some memory that allows that sense of warmth and care and metta to kindle in the heart, and just allow it to brighten the chitta. Sense of quiet joy and friendliness and sweetness. You can switch back and forth, foregrounding metta, backgrounding the breath, or foregrounding the breath and backgrounding loving kindness. Whatever feels right. And we'll continue to sit together for a time. Now bring the mind back to the heart. Really allow that gentle flame of metta to kindle again. You can use a word like care, forgiveness, it's okay. But allow all those sitting around you this morning into that space of the heart. And instead of spreading metta out, just soften the borders of the field of loving kindness in your heart and allow all those sitting around you into it. These beautiful friends with their own sufferings, complex lives, difficulties, failures, hopes, and shared aspiration. Can you feel gratitude and care? Just let them into that bright space. You can imagine inviting them into a warm cabin out of the rain, or you can imagine them standing around you in a sunlit field, smiling, whatever works. But may they be well. Gratitude. Imagine that one person who you're having difficulty with in your life, and have them standing in that crowd too, with their eyes lowered in humility, in gratitude for being invited as well. For not being exiled from your heart. Then invite in all beings. May they be well. May we purify our hearts for the sake of all beings. So in general, when there's a Dhamma talk, people feel free to meditate through it. It's the same thing in our tradition, listening and meditating. But for these community stories, maybe best to keep your eyes open and just show the people that you're listening. But do also feel free to stand up or move around as you need to. It can be a long time to sit. If you decide to share and don't want your sharing to be posted on the video afterwards, talk to our AV team or message them if you're on Zoom. And really make sure to hold the mic close to your mouth. And can we have someone in the front row make a little mic to mouth signal if people... Yeah, so Gary will subtly do this if you need to bring the mic closer to your mouth. And Gary, if someone goes over 5 minutes, which happens sometimes, just make Anjali. And it's not like you have to stop on the spot. It's just a sort of note. And yeah, we'll need perhaps a cushion for these people. Oh, and I guess me. That's very kind. Thank you, Sid. This will be for others. Actually, can we get a sort of puffy cushion for others, maybe? Great. Oh, Juanita. All right, good. We have one. Thank you, Sid. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. So people just feel free to come up and share. And once again, the question is either how did you come to the Dhamma, or how has the Dhamma changed your life this past year? And just a chance to share experiences and what it's meant to you.
All right, I love to be an icebreaker. So, what thing that affected me in good way about Dharma is understanding this mind of mine is really not mind of mine. It's the point that it's understanding that this mind is always generating random thoughts and saying random things. And I used to think that I have to follow my heart, do whatever my mind says, and listen to it. But when I came to Dharma, what the new thing that I learned is that this mind of ours is not necessarily is always friend of ours. It says random thing. It says things. It's not about like following our heart. It's many of the times whatever it is saying, if I do that, actually it will hurt me. So then I started practicing, and more than immediately giving what my mind wants, I would rather like sit back and then watch whatever it is saying. Maybe it's asking like, no, right now I want a pizza, or I want a McDonald's, whatever. And I would just like sit back. Previously, I would just go and, this is what I need, I'll just do that. But after coming to Dharma, I would just step back and watch, like, see how long it asks for McDonald's or burger, whatever. And sure enough, like the teaching of impermanence also, I can see in myself, like after some time, maybe 2-3 seconds, it fades away, and maybe something else comes. So it has been like tremendous thing for me as in practice, like understanding that my mind is just like a little child. It just keeps saying different things. It's always scared, afraid, no, wants this thing or that thing. I do not have to necessarily give into those things immediately, but if I can sit back and not try to control it and let it be whatever it is, and I see that it fades away, and then I can come back to whatever wholesome thing that I need to do. So it has been of great benefit for me. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
And we do 3 sadhus every time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you. We have a Zoomer. Is that Joseph? Or who is it?
Good as.
Please.
Hello to everyone. Hello to Bante and hello to Namaste to Sangha. I have come to this Dhamma. Actually, it says that even our teacher says we have come to Dhamma, like we have born as a human being, and coming across Dhamma is a very rare opportunity we got in this life. Like many people will not be getting this opportunity to come near Dhamma, practice the Dhamma. It's because of our past conditions, past causes and conditions. Today we are with Dhamma, teachings of the Buddha. And as we know that in teachings of the Buddha, if we do good actions, definitely the results will lead to happiness. And if I do bad actions, definitely the results will be unwholesome. And I have come across Dhamma and I have seen I have started initial practice through visiting temples, frequently visiting temples, going to different traditions, and even meditation I have practiced in different practices. Then I have finally come to loving kindness meditation, which is making me happy and everyone happy. And I wish all happiness. Thank you for giving opportunity.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Christina?
Okay, I've been coming here for over a year, so I feel like it's time for me to do this. I'm going to share how I came to the Dhamma. So I am the daughter of 2 Italian immigrants, so I inherited Catholicism as my religion of practice up until high school. Abandoned it because it really didn't resonate with me. I didn't fit with where I felt, I guess, my soul was calling to. And if my memory serves me right, I think my first exposure to Buddhist philosophy was in a class my sophomore year of college called Quest for Human Destiny, where they explored a lot of different religious philosophy or principles. And I remember hearing some of the guiding principles of Buddhism and was like, that makes a lot of sense to me. And this was back when Facebook still had the option to change your religion. And I remember putting budding Buddhist in that category, but was not practicing seriously at the time. I think I was attaching to the label more than anything else. And went some time kind of just meandering, not really exploring anything. And in about, I think it was 2018, I was going through a relatively tough period in my life. I just gotten divorced and was a couple of years into an eating disorder. Feeling really isolated. It was a really dark time for me. And I don't remember what I searched in YouTube, but whatever search keyword I put in, Ajahn Brahm came up. Probably something about perfectionism or anxiety or something, and started listening to him. He became part of my bedtime routine, actually, where I just found a lot of refuge and solace in some of the things he was teaching about. And at the time, I was still living in the Chicago suburbs. I'm originally from there. And there wasn't, to my knowledge, a big monastery or community of practitioners out there, so I never really felt called to explore a Sangha. But when I first moved here at the end of 2022, it was one of the first things I had this distinct calling to search for, was a community of people who practiced Buddhism. And I remember thinking it has to be the same lineage or philosophy that Ajahn Brahm teaches. Like, that was in the back of my head. So I remember looking up what is the tradition that Ajahn Brahm is part of, and it said Theravada. And then I looked, is there a Theravada monastery in Seattle, and Clear Mountain is what came up. And so I think what I'm trying to illustrate with this is Buddhism was always something that I think there was an intuition in me that was telling me this is what you're being called to. And it was never the thing that I inherited or felt like it was forced on me. It was something intrinsic in myself that was always finding some sort of solace or refuge from. And it just means a lot to me that in my transition and moving here, like, one of the first things that was a cornerstone in my life was finding this community. So I'm really appreciative and grateful for that because transitions are hard, and it was definitely something I found an anchor in throughout my first year adjusting to new life here. So hopefully that's inspiring to anyone else that's going through a similar period in their life.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Hello. Hey, is it working? Okay, perfect. Thanks. Hey, I'm Robert. I've been coming here for a year and a half, so I also feel like it's time. So how I came to Buddhism was about 2 years ago. I kind of had a lot of internal suffering, kind of self-inflicted, really. And externally, everything was fine. Like, if I look back at it now, like I had a very, very happy marriage, good job, everything really. But internally, I was like just dissatisfied sometimes. So what it was for me, it was also like perfectionism. So especially when I did something wrong, or I did something, made a decision that maybe in retrospect was not optimal, like at work or other personal things. I would recriminate myself a lot for it, and would have this internal dialogue about it a lot. And it was really kind of affecting just being in every day, like this would come up again and again. And it came to the point where it was kind of not healthy. So I looked into meditation first, I'd heard of it, started with the apps and all of that, and had a kind of inconsistent practice with that. And then a year and a half ago, I saw actually some of these flyers for Clear Mountain around Green Lake. So came here, started coming here regularly. Still had a very on and again and off again practice. So at times I would be very inspired by the talks here, and then had some better weeks, and then I would fall back into like old habits. And then what really kind of changed it for me last year was first I was lucky to go and to do the intro to meditation class with Sims here. Was very lucky that my wife was willing to join that with me. So that really helped make the practice more regular. And then also took off some time off work last year to just kind of relax and also to go on a meditation retreat. So went on a retreat in the style of, or with a student of the Burmese teachers, Sayadaw U Tejaniya. Some of you maybe have heard of his style. So the retreat was a lot about cultivating like natural awareness and just whatever came up, just being aware of it. Like even the meditation didn't go well or thoughts come up or something, just being aware of that and not kind of being too hard on yourself, just being aware of it and being okay with it. That really helped a lot. And then since then, I've had a much more regular practice. And yeah, so what has meant to me is kind of now with this very regular practice, I just feel like I am very different. Like if I compare to 2 years ago, I gave up that kind of this habit of always like being dissatisfied or like, you know, getting vexations because things are not exactly as I want them to be. Like these days I can be much more, I think, with whatever is basically. It's, I mean, not always, but I think it's much easier for me to return to like a calm place and to be just present a lot of the times. Yeah, so this really meant a lot, and this community has really helped a lot. Just coming here, seeing everybody, being with everybody, meditating, and the practice has really helped a lot. So yeah, thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I think we have let's do in person first, and then we can go to you after, David. Samir, please. Visiting us from the East Coast. We're trying to win him over to Seattle.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It's on, right? Yep. Yeah, this is actually my first time here. So my name is Samir. I'm 17, and I'm Kabir's younger brother. And so I just wanted to begin with a message of gratitude. I'm so grateful to be here, to meet the Sangha, to meet you, Ajahn Nisabho. So I'm really excited. My answer is kind of sort of one answer to both questions. So I'd like to share that with you. And I have a tendency to ramble, so I'll try to be succinct. So for me, what brought me to the Dhamma was actually addiction, but not in the context that I guess it's often used, which is physical substance abuse. Rather, my addiction was to the internet. So, which is very typical for adolescents, especially this generation and this day and age. I was badly addicted to video games, to social media, you name it, the whole shebang. And so, long story short, I was able to find my way out of that with many resources and help and friends along the way. And simultaneously, during that time, I began to discover some of the Buddha Dharma. Now, my parents had been following Buddhism for at least 25, 30 years from that point, and they brought me to meditation retreats and introduced me to some things, but when I was younger, it just didn't really resonate with me. It wasn't something that I felt was accessible. But after I started to really delve into my relationship with craving, which is kind of what you have to do when you're addicted, I got very interested in these teachings. And so one teaching that I want to share, which has helped me in tandem with being able to go offline, which sometimes is to the my parents and my brother don't like it when I don't pick up the phone, but something that's really allowed my health and my relationships and my life just generally to rebound and improve so much has been the doctrine of anatta, anatman, or no self, which I found in my relationships and with my peers when we tend to get into arguments and conflicts, and we'll cling to this sense of I, and it goes from my perspective, your perspective, to I'm right, you're wrong, I'm good, you're bad. And it's not just our individual sense of self, so I'm not just Samir, but our collective delusions of self. So it's I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm a male, I'm this political party, I'm Indian ethnicity, whatever it is. And so I've been experiencing, and it's just such a radical experience to be able to have conversations and genuine dialogues with people where we're not sort of biased and disposed to one side, and to really engage and sort of feel an intimacy and love with people like that. That's something new for me, to have that equanimity, and it's not something that I'd ever really experienced before I came to Buddhism. So that's something that's been really powerful and impactful for me. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you. David, is that you on Zoom? If so, please.
Yes, it is, and thank you so much. This is really a privilege. My name is David. I live in the Seattle area. As you're sharing the question, I realized that there are two Dhammas. There's the Dhamma of words and wisdom that is written down, and as some people say, there's the larger Dhamma of what is ultimately true, that's bigger than any Dhamma. To steal from Lao Tzu, the Dhamma that can be spoken is not the true Dhamma. And I feel like I've been coming back to the Dhamma for my entire life. And as I look very briefly at that course, and I've lived a while, so it's a long story, I won't bore you with for much of it, but from the time I was a little boy who loved nature to the one who was raised in a church, didn't really buy the doctrine much, but I sure loved the music and the silence and the calm. To growing up, in the 60s and 70s, enough said about that. But I first realized I bumped into a book called Be Here Now by Ram Dass. It was a big opening to a bigger world, for me. And as was just mentioned, part of my story involves recovery from an addiction. That was a Dhamma to be learned quite a while ago. I was part of a group that was a quasi-Christian cult, and although I've abandoned that long ago, there was Dhamma there. There was truth. There was truth in the 12-step group that I was part of. There's Dhamma in so many. The Dhamma is everywhere, and I feel much more like I'm coming back to the childlike understanding of the Dhamma that doesn't need to be spoken, almost like the story of the Buddha when he was sitting against the tree and everything was so lovely that he remembered it. Where has it led? This is another process to me and not an event. I don't think I ever came to the Dhamma in one sense. I certainly started attending Thich Nhat Hanh's book way back when 1990s, when it first came out, was really powerful, set me off on a quest to being interested in things like this. I would go to the monastery. It was actually a Catholic monastery on the island where I lived in Hong Kong, just to sit and reflect and meditate. And it's funny because people say, "Are you a Buddhist?" I say, "No." And they say, "Well, you go to all these retreats, your entire bookshelf is lined with Buddhist literature, and you're listening to Dhamma talks all the time. What are you talking about?" I said, "I don't know, but it's too much of a living thing to be an ist or an ism for me. I just choose not to identify with an ist or an ism, an ideology, but try to see what's true in this moment." And as I'm starting to write down some of these ways in which I feel like it's changing my life, and I think the word again is changing. It's all step by step. I have created a gratitude list here that without realizing it. And these are things that are in process. They're not done, but I find them much less inclined to be clinging. This is not just in the last year. I think these are the products of years of practice and mistakes and deviation and so on. Selfing has been reduced. This sense of me is not as solid as it used to be. My tendency to making a lot of effort and straining and stressing and trying to achieve is definitely blunted and softened. There's less me in the whole thing. I notice I react less to things. My wife inadvertently smashed the entire side of the car in a very badly designed parking garage. And when it came back, much to my surprise, I just felt, "Oh, Jen, that must have been terrifying." I never went to, "Damn, the car is smashed, it's going to cost out." I didn't choose that. It just went away on its own, I think as a result of being around the right wise people and trying to listen. I do find that I recover faster when something really does agitate me. It goes down more quickly. Overall, I just feel friendlier towards life and towards people and towards dogs and women and men and, all kinds of things. So, and then I think another thing that's really been reduced is the need to be right, to have the answers. And I don't want to make it sound as if I've somehow achieved some state of, enlightenment here. But I do feel that these things work step by step. And I think that's been the core message of the Dhamma, is it works step by step. It requires patience. It's counterintuitive sometimes, and that if I try to get it right or do it right or push it harder, I want to be, enlightened and kind now. Well, good luck with that. I'm going to go downhill and not uphill with that respect. So much goodness here. That's been almost 5 minutes. Thank you for the opportunity to share, and especially for the opportunity to listen to other people. Thanks.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, David. Ajahn Sucitto went to a school, and one of the kids asked what Buddhism meant, and he said, "Bud means awaken, and ism is everything else." So.
All right, well, thank you for this opportunity, and I really want to appreciate the people who've already spoken, because I just feel so much in common with many of the things they've said. I'm just going to start with when I started really practicing Buddhism, because I think there was some interest there very early on that just didn't have the nourishment. But I went on a trip with my family to Thailand and Cambodia in 2004, and we had family members living there and an old friend of mine. And I took a book with me called Buddhism for Dummies, and it was a perfect book for me. And but it was a time in this country, the context was the Iraqi war had started recently in 2003, and there was a lot of just fear in the United States about terrorism. And I remember my friend in Thailand saying, you know, who was born in the United States, I knew him from college, he was like, what's gone wrong in your country? And it was, I think it was just meeting people who, in a culture that had Buddhism just very much integrated, and just feeling people's ability to listen. And there's kind of a certain acceptance that I felt, and the imagery around, you know, just walking around of the Buddha, all of that was just really spurred a lot of curiosity and kind of inspiration. And so when I came back here, I was looking for a place where I could continue to explore that. And it took a few months, and we went to a place in Ballard that was Tibetan, and I was going to these places with my wife. She reminded her too much of Catholicism because there was a lot of ritual. And so she remembered that a person that she knew from her work on an ethics committee at Providence Hospital, Rodney Smith, who ran the hospice program there, was teaching Buddhism. And I really found that just felt like home, you know, coming to that. And I think what really brought me to Buddhism was probably this uncomfortableness or terror about dying. And there were a couple of people who had passed away within a short period of each other around that time in 2004, who were important people in my life, my mother-in-law and an old professor friend. And so it really highlighted the reality of it. And I started going to retreats once I started practicing with Sims and Rodney. And it just for the first time, there was this sort of opening up to things that made it less terrifying. And then also just, I don't know, I just cried a lot. And it was like just unburdening years of I don't know what, just was being shed. And it was joyful crying. And so anyway, I practiced with Rodney for, you know, till he retired, and long enough that I could see sort of how practice waxes and wanes. And so during the pandemic, I heard about Ajahn Nisabho coming here, but I didn't act on that right away. I've been coming I'm in this group of year to year and a half class who's talking today. I heard about it through Peter Wertman in our group, our KM group called Dharma Dudes. It's been getting together for about 15 years, and decided that, you know, I was ready to try something new, and that the practice had kind of lost some momentum. And so it's been wonderful to come here. I see a lot of old friends from Sims, and feel the kind of inspiration return. Very, very thankful for that. Thank you, Ajahn Nisabho. And thank you for all of you for being here.
Sadhu. Dharma dudes. We need to keep that one, people.
Is this on? Yeah, cool. Hi, my name is Yamili. This is my third time here. I think I came to the practice, the Dhamma, around 2020, quarantine, you know. I came across a podcast, I don't know how, called Awaken the World with Michael Stone. And something about it was, it blended psychology with Buddhism, and they both just matched really well in a way that I could really just like grasp it, and it wasn't just grasp it, you know. But things just kind of clicked and made sense, and things kind of opened up in a way that, like, I didn't want to cling to things, or I could bring myself back. And my whole life, I felt like there were two voices always combating each other. And that was the first time that I kind of noticed that there was someone far in the back just watching. And so when I noticed that, I started to kind of just push everything else in the foreground and take a back seat and just let things ride out. And so I started my journey just kind of listening to those meditations and different meditations in Tara Brach and everything. And it felt like a practice, but now that I'm letting go of certain addictions and attachments, I realized I was kind of just floating along with them. And I know that that's what I needed to kind of get to this point. But now that I've let go of some of those attachments, I'm very much realizing I need this, and I need to be able to hold my breath. And so I've been waking up, practicing for like 20 minutes in that same fashion, and just holding that kind of intimacy and being able to look people in the eyes while still holding on to that breath, you know. So I'm very grateful to be here and to see a room full of people just healing through everything, that we may not have all these answers, but once you have an idea of something and how it should be, that's kind of when you need to step back and reevaluate. And it's been very difficult and very hard, but I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful just in general to be able to hold that kind of insight. Thank you for letting me share.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
I guess it's on. Thank you. Yes. So I grew up in India, so all of these different traditions are not new to me. I've also spent some time in Dharamshala and different traditions, and so I kind of think about it as like you go to a new city, you've got a hotel room, then you go wander, but you have home to come back to. So that's how the Dharma has always felt to me. I've always been able to return to it, whether that's the Hindu Dharma or the Buddha Dharma. For me, they're all, refuges. But specifically here, I was at work last year, a lot of stress, a lot of anger, and it was one of those things, the familiarity of being able to say, whatever's happening is happening, but my suffering is optional. That literally was the sentence that came to me. And I was then said, okay, let me go look for retreats. And Cloud Mountain Retreat, and Kate was co-teaching that, was where I ended up. It was, it's terrifying. I've never been silent in my whole life. 5 days of silence. But it was one of the most easiest things. And they make it easy. The place is just amazing. And in my one-on-one session with Kate, I actually asked, where would I go to find Sangha in Seattle? And she recommended this. So very, very grateful. Thank you. But that was back in November. And then, I was traveling. So I started coming, I want to say in January. And so this place has been, and 2024, my theme for my life was finding community. So whether it's at the Ballard Food Bank where I volunteer or here, so it's been really, really good. In terms of the practice itself, hasn't stuck as much as it should, but I've been learning more and working to build a more structured practice. So hopefully that'll happen in time. But all I can do is keep trying. So this place has been wonderful in terms of finding community. I started volunteering thanks to Gary. And there's more people that I knew than I realized, people from before. So I've really enjoyed coming here, and I'm hoping that this energy makes me more prone to practice. So that's the goal. But thank you, Kate, for recommending, and for all of you to make this place such a welcoming.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm an expert at out silencing people. This is my profession. Tommy. Tommy's visiting us from Winthrop. We usually get him on Zoom, but in person today.
Sorry, I have to stand because I have a replacement knee and it doesn't bend enough to let me.
Do you want a chair?
The chair would be good.
Can we get a chair for Tommy? So many chairs just came up.
Okay. So,
thank you.
So little booty. Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting Ajahn Nisabho when he first came to the States. I remember it was Election Day 2020, and to build Cascade Hermitage, which I'm sure you've all heard about. And I've become good friends with Doug and Sarah, and with Ajahn Nisabho, if you can be a friend with a monk, I don't know. I came, and I'm a Zen practitioner, but I like coming here when I can, and I attend online sometimes. And my story about coming to Buddhism was in 1998 when I got divorced. And there used to be in Redmond, Washington, where I lived at the time, a bookstore called the Stonehouse Bookstore, and it was run by somebody knows it, run by the Svendenborgians, and they had all the religious spectrum in there. And I ran across the book by Pema Chodron called When Things Fall Apart, which is so appropriate when you get divorced, right? And it was a great message because she said, that's the perfect opportunity to put things back together again. And so since then, I had some exposure to Buddhism when I was in graduate school. And immediately afterwards, too, when I attended a Japanese Zen sitting group in Bellevue. But it was just sitting, there was no Dharma talk. And I said, well, what's going on? Why am I here? So that didn't help a lot for somebody with a computer-like mind. But it's been a great journey, and it really has helped straighten out a lot of things in my life. I grew up not knowing that I was gay in a time when it was not a good thing to be gay, in a milieu and a location when that simply wasn't accepted. and you know, part of my coming out late in life, you know, has to do with the self-realization that comes with practice and the acceptance. And Pema Chodron, I'll quote her again. She said, "You can only be as compassionate to others as you are to yourself." And it took me a long time to learn that, but that's part of becoming who you are. And I think that's, you know, between friends and the Dharma, that's been sort of the story of my life, is finding out who I am. And it's never too late. So thank you very much.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sorry, the bowing ritual is on.
You're great. It's a good metaphor, the empty chair. It's all right. Sure, sure. Unless someone else wants to use it.
Hi there. I'm Tim. This is my first time here. So thank you for welcoming me in. I first found meditation, like many people my age, through the apps in 2020 during COVID. 2020 was the year that I finally confronted some substance use issues that had been plaguing me for years. And so I think the combination of getting sober and of isolation made me aware for the first time of all these emotions that I had no idea how to deal with. And I found immediate relief at first using the apps, but I found that the apps were I was very goal oriented. The goal was to find some sort of peace, some sort of relief from anxiety and suffering that I was dealing with. And I think over the past few years, as my practice has grown more consistent, the goal-oriented nature of, I guess, my intentions has kind of melted away a little bit. And so, you know, what I'm focusing on now is trying to be better at choiceless awareness and, you know, befriending whatever happens right now, befriending the anxiety that I feel now, sitting here talking to all of you. And really trying to, through reading, through coming to Dharma talks, understand the reactivity that guides everything I do, that guides my emotional reactions, that I only become aware of after it's already started. So I think trying to just deepen my awareness of that reactivity and trying to understand what is real is where I'm at now. And I'm grateful to be, you know, still very early in the path, but here. So thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, I think we may have time for one more, or if no one steps forward, we can also wrap up. Okay. So just a second. Okay, can we get one final triple sadhu for the Dharma dudes and Dharma dudettes who came up today? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And for everyone who's baffled by our sadhus, that means, yeah, that was awesome in the translation of Ajahn Kovilo. And he's a Pali scholar, so he must be right. So just really rejoicing everyone who came up here. It takes some courage. If you did speak, you know, just encouraging people to go up to those who talked and just thank them for sharing. if you talked and maybe forgot to say your name or it was quiet, perhaps just go tell the AV folks and they can kind of put that in the YouTube description if you want, but no pressure. And, really emphasizing that what we create here, we started 3 years ago in a park with 4 people. It's grown a lot since. And what we're trying to build is what I think is the great missing puzzle piece in American Buddhism today and in society, which is real community. And that whatever grows out of this, our aim is eventually to have a monastery within about 25, 30, 35 minutes of here, but in the forest at the same time, where we're accessible to people, where Ajahn Sona says so many people today have 1 foot in a monastery and 1 foot in a banana peel, on a banana peel. And there's this real sense that what we lack is this kind of catalyst or this nexus for everyone to come together and give and really deepen their practice. And whatever grows from this gym in terms of a place, land, generations of community will rest on the foundations of the community and the kindness which we lay right now. And for those of you who've just stepped into this group, you'll soon intuit it's really special. I've been a part of a lot of Buddhist groups, and this one is genuinely unique. The level of sincerity among practitioners here is astounding and just really beautiful people. So just want to encourage everyone here to get to know each other, take advantage of the chance to actually connect with other Kalyanamitta, meet with each other outside of the gatherings, join our online, offerings when you're able. And as most of you know, after the gatherings every Saturday, people are just invited to stick around and share a meal. A bunch of people bring food. You're always welcome to bring food as well, though no pressure. Vegetarian and vegan offerings are appreciated. And just to really rejoice in what's growing up here. It feels a bit like falling in love, and it's very rare you get to be part of kind of the beginning of something like this. I know I never have, and I don't know if you get, multiple opportunities like that in a lifetime. So, and we have stickers. So let's read the blessing braid. Oh, Mike.
Ashita, healing from Crohn's disease. Baby Gouda's Sachi, having genetic disease, lost mobility, swallowing ability. Please spread happiness. Sunitha, diagnosed with hyperdiabetes. Please spread happiness.
So this is just a chance for people to say the names of anyone they want to keep in their hearts today and dedicate the practice to. Jessica's mother, Nancy, diagnosed with colon cancer. Jen and Jason who lost his mother today. Preston and what was Chuck, who passed away recently. Teresa, pancreatic cancer. Nicole and Juliet. Dean, suffering from depression. Sid's sister. Shoulder injury for Juanita's friend's son. Mary, who just had surgery. I think she may be on Zoom. Hi, Mary. How you doing? Thumbs up. Okay, good. Good. Uncle Ryan. Okay. So we'll hold them all in our hearts. Oh, Kirk, please.
For Al Mannings and all who have passed this past 12 months for a positive rebirth. And for Marianne, my mom who's struggling with MS.
Thank you. Scott Rohr, a wonderful historian in Seattle. All living beings who've been harmed by the climate emergency. We covered a lot of bases today. That's very good. This is good. So just we can hold all beings in our hearts in this way, and we can chant and dedicate merit. Let's chant Verses of Sharing and Aspiration, page 33 of the chanting book, page 33. If you're on Zoom, you can find the link in the chat. YouTube, it's in the YouTube description, page 33. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless through the goodness that arises from my practice. And through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. Just to encourage the first person you speak to after we're done, maybe have it be someone you haven't spoken to before if possible, just to make everyone kind of feel welcome. If you notice